Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WWF Monday Night Raw Retro Review from January 18th, 1999. This episode, ladies and gentlemen, is the go-home show to the Royal Rumble 1999 pay-per-view. I was actually not too impressed by this episode. This episode, had some decent storyline development for the Royal Rumble, but outside of that, match-wise, I was not impressed as much as I was for the January 11th episode. Would I say it's still something worth going to watch? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's worth your time if you're trying to watch this stuff chronologically, leading up to the pay-per-view of Royal Rumble. So, I mean, it does. It would be worth your time to watch the important parts of the show. But nothing really big happened here, except for the ending and the beginning of Stone Cold's promo that he does. He also the hardcore title match between Road Dogg and Gangrel was actually pretty good. Mankind and Big Boss Man actually was a pretty decent match. There was a situation that happened, which I'll get further into. Chyna and facing Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson was pretty damn funny. I actually enjoyed watching that one. That was funny as shit. Al Snow and Goldust, it was whatever. But we'll get into the entire whole thing, what happened here. Not too many promos occurred on this show, quite frankly. There's just mostly matches and things happening throughout the event, and that's about it. So there was but one promo that occurred, and a few things that was discussed backstage with The Rock and Vince McMahon about Kane, and then Kane coming in with the next segment, talking to Vince McMahon and The Rock. So that's about it. But here we go. First off, we find out The Rock and Kane are actually going to be going at it one-on-one in the Raw's main event for this episode. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out to start off the show with the promo he's gonna do. He goes on to say he's gonna kick Vince McMahon's ass, and he gave props to Mick Foley being the new WWF champion, and he values and respects his in-work capabilities and him as a person. But when it comes down to it, when they face off at WrestleMania 15, when that title's on the line, all that's going to be out the window. He'll be in one corner, the referee might be in the middle or somewhere, and his crazy ass son of a bitch self will be in another corner, waiting for that bell to ring and him to go ahead and tear Mick Foley apart to win back the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 15. He makes also a vow that he will kick Vince McMahon's ass, asking the audience about would they like to see him give Vince McMahon an ass kicking. Give me a hell yeah. They all chanted hell yeah, and then he said, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. If you guys want to see me do that, give me a hell yeah. And once again, they give him a hell yeah. Pretty much the standard Stone Cold Steve Austin, but with a lot of intensity. So definitely a lot of fun to hear him talk trash about Vince McMahon and the corporation, and him about the desire and passion of him wanting to go about winning back that WWF championship that he's been fighting for so long in the couple of months before or after he lost the WWF Championship, which was back in September of 1998. Yeah, that's pretty much the deal on that promo. So it was a pretty straightforward, self-explanatory kind of a promo. Very enjoyable. Stone Cold Steve Austin's promos were always good to watch, so I definitely didn't have a problem with it. The next thing on the whole event was Road Dogg defending the Hardcore Championship against Gangrel. This was the first match. A lot of action happened throughout. A lot of chair shots, a lot of tables. One table did not even break properly. Road Dogg and Gangrel, these poor guys, they were trying to break a table, and it took 3 attempts just to break this table. It was stiff as a board. I mean, it would not budge, break, nothing. I mean, even jumping off the top rope by Road Dogg, landing through the table with Gangrel on it with a high velocity did not work. So that table was pretty awkward. I'd never seen a table not break like that. Just doing high risk maneuvers and coming down at a high velocity on top of your opponent, and the table doesn't even fucking break. It was pretty insane. But Road Dogg pulled it out. He hit him with one chair shot. Then he climbed on the apron of the ring, ran across the apron on the ring, and dove down and cranked Gangrel in the head for the 1-2-3, and picked up the victory to retain his Hardcore Championship belt. Match-wise, I'd definitely say this match was a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was kind of slow. If it was a bit more fast-paced, I think I would definitely rank it as a 4. Match was only 6 minutes long, but definitely a good title match nonetheless. Billy Gunn faces Test in a one-on-one match. This action was kind of dull and boring. Nothing really happened here. There was a disqualification because Ken Shamrock came down to the ring, put Billy Gunn in an ankle lock, and pretty much severely injured Billy Gunn's leg, which left him in kind of a desired states, and pretty much in a situation where the odds are stacked against him heavily, leading into the Royal Rumble for the Intercontinental Championship. This match, I'd give it like a 2.5 out of 5. It wasn't nothing big of a deal. Steve Blackman versus Dan Severn. Nothing really important here. This ended up being a disqualification as well. There was several disqualifications in this event, which kind of sucks. I did not particularly like this match whatsoever. I practically skipped the entire match, so I don't even know what happened during this event. Not that I even really cared either. It doesn't lead to anything important. Mankind facing Big Boss Man. By the way, Big Boss Man and Mankind actually had a head start on their match. It was supposedly, once again, a hardcore match. They were beating the shit out of each other with weapons, throwing each other backstage, hitting all kinds of objects and things of that sort. And then they get in the ring, and the bell rings, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we're being told it's a hardcore match once again, and it ends up being a disqualification. Come on, WWE. What the fuck were you doing back then? You people on drugs or something? You have amnesia? You forgot what the fuck you said? It was supposed to be a no DQ match, yet you're doing a disqualification. Where the fuck is the common sense here? I believe what happened, if I remember correctly, The Rock actually got in the middle of this match, hit the Mick Foley several times in the head with the chair, and hit a rock bottom on the chair on Mick Foley. So, again, there was story development here leading into the event, leading you to believe that The Rock had the upper advantage over Mick Foley, simply because he was damaged and banged up to shit leading into the match for their I Quit match at the Royal Rumble. Next deal that happened here was Chyna. She actually came down to the ring with to call out Mark Henry about the situation that occurred with Mark Henry from last week. As I mentioned on the video, Mark Henry was taken back with this woman named Sammy, who you later find out during this episode that she's actually a man with balls. Well, of course, a man with balls. Whatever. Forget what I said, but this woman, Sammy, supposedly has balls. He was really kind of hooking it up with her, and then all of a sudden he notices some pair of testicles are hanging between this so-called woman's legs. What an embarrassment that is. Chyna was playing Mark Henry all along. If you guys don't know the storyline behind all this, check it out and you'll understand why. I wouldn't be able to go in a long story about this, but Chyna, it was pretty simple actually, let me explain. She was expressing interest in Mark Henry for whatever the reason, and played him for a sucker, pretty He was led to believe that she was into him, but she later sets him up with that broad from last week and pretty much finds out that he's a cheating bastard anyway, and also tells him that she would never hook up with him if he was the last man on Earth and she was the last woman on Earth and the world depended on them making children. So very weird, and the mother was actually there. Mark Henry's mother was actually there watching this all unfold. Very awkward. Some fucking strange shit happened back in those days, and let me tell you, it was definitely attitude, and it definitely wasn't PG rated for anybody, for little kids to watch. But yet, they had kids in the audience. I'll tell you that much. You could watch every Raw episode back in those days, and kids were in the audience watching these shows and enjoying every fucking minute of them. I don't know why WWE doesn't kind of, flip the envelope, push the envelope just a little bit more than what they do. I think they really should make it more like an in-between, like a feeling of adult and kids. This show, this current WWE modern day stuff feels like for children. This was definitely for adults. It's like one extreme to the other. It's really insane. There's no happy medium with WWE. It seems like they never can seem to find that happy medium to pacify everybody. But whatever. If you like wrestling, you like WWE, you're a fan of WWE, it doesn't really matter to you. You're going to continue to watch them regardless, like you would watch the Boston Red Sox or the New York Yankees or whatever team in baseball or any sport team that you like. You're going to continuously follow them regardless if they're winning, losing, or anything else because you're a fan. But after that segment ends, we also get China having a 2-on-1 handicap match. Excuse me, I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, but technically, Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson might as well equal one person to China, because they got their asses kicked. The funny part about the whole situation is that Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson continuously fought like two little kids over who was going to get the victory over China, and yet they couldn't even get the win over this broad. With all that said and done, with them bickering and arguing, the match actually was funny as shit. The action was pretty good too. I have to say that the match overall was a 3 out of 5 stars. And it was funny as hell. So the entertainment and comedy value plus the in-ring work was a 3 out of 5 stars, no doubt. So definitely well worth your time to watch that. China was really good in this, and Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe did pretty okay. China ends up picking up the victory over these two with a double pin at the same time to get the win. Al Snow faces Goldust 1-on-1. Winner gets the head, the grooming barber head that Al Snow was carrying around, as I mentioned from the last episode. Goldust 8 days ago on the, if you want to go pretend we're like back in the day, from the January 10th episode of Sunday Night Heat, they said that, Goldust snatched the head that Al Snow carries around with him, and so that head is actually on the line for whoever wins that match and gets to keep head. Now, throughout the event, they kept saying, I'm going to keep head. I'm going to get head. I'm holding on to head. And then, they keep saying, the winner gets head. Yeah, if you want to take that in a perverted mindset, go right ahead. Because that's really what it is. The whole purpose of that is saying that you're getting you-know-what. So, yeah. That was pretty fucking messed up what they were doing there. Overall, this match was kind of a joke. I didn't really care for this match. Thankfully, it was only 3 minutes long. I give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Al Snow picks up the victory and wins by pinfall. And he wins back head, but then at the same time, he loses head again. Goldust goes ahead, does the Shattered Dreams on Al Snow, and that's the end of that. And Goldust runs back off with Head again. So that's the end of that scenario. The pretty retarded storyline building there between those two guys. I don't know what the fuck the deal is with that. So whatever. Oh yeah, before I go any further, I also forgot to mention that Sable was trying to tag team up with China against Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson, and they just threw a quick little build-in storyline between Luna and Sable. Luna just came out immediately and started whipping her with a strap because, of course, their match is a strap match. So she ends up beating the shit out of her with a strap. Pretty weird attempt to build a storyline, but I guess because of time constraints and with everything else they were doing, they just figured why not throw that in so that we can at least have some sort of progression going on with that storyline leading into the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. So I guess I understand the point of view on that, and it makes a little bit of sense to me. The main event, we also, throughout the show, Rock was really saying some controversial things about Kane, plus Vince McMahon was as well, saying that he's retarded, Kane's a retard, if he doesn't do what Vince McMahon says, he's going to go back to the loony bin, things of that sort. It sounded like something like the character Abyss from TNA was going through. From what I remember back in TNA days, Abyss was in a mental institution. Apparently he was going to be sent back there and stuff like that, and was being called a retard. So, TNA kind of ripped them off with Kane on that one. Pretty lame on TNA's part, but hey, what can you say? That's what TNA does sometimes, and that's why TNA is practically falling on their backs and going out of business almost, I would assume so, since they keep losing superstars that are good performers, and yet they're leaving the company regardless. But anyway, moving on with this, we also, Kane gets brought in, told by Vince McMahon, you're just going to get they're ripping off Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash's storyline from January 4th's episode from 1999, the finger poke of death, and they're pretty much putting that in this storyline to help make Rock not get pinned. Kane later on refuses during this match. You can stick it, gives him that, and that's that. And pretty much Corporation ends up beating the hell out of him, as well as The Rock does. But as that beating continued, Mick Foley came down to the ring, started attacking The Rock, and The Rock ran out of the ring like a scaredy cat bitch. And Stone Cold Steve Austin was up on the ramp, and when he turned around, Austin beat the hell out of him, and Mick Foley and Stone Cold had the pleasure of beating the shit out of The Rock while they were beating the hell out of Kane in the middle of the ring. So pretty much overall, that's how the show ends. Nothing really important happened on this episode, I'd have to say, except for a few developmental storylines that lead into the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. But nothing big really happened for this go-away show leading into the Royal Rumble of 1999. There's a lot of dissension going on. You can notice there's a lot of clues that Corporation by this time was looking like they're going to be separating at some point, especially the ways The Rock's behavior was, how he was defiant, was very dictatorial and controlling of Vince McMahon's group, but at the same time was very convincing to Vince McMahon as well to go along with these decisions. So if you want to think about it, Vince McMahon, technically, if you want to think about it, should have been a little bit smart enough to find a new guy to represent the Corporation and get rid of The Rock, because The Rock actually was more of a disease to the Corporation than anything else. But we'll have to see how all those storylines develop later on in these upcoming episodes that I'm going to be watching and looking over. To see how they develop. I mean, I don't remember all the episodes of what happened, so I'm not going to spoil it for people that have not seen this stuff from back in 1999. But, you know, there is a lot of dissension going on within the corporation leading into the Royal Rumble. Even though they're still together, it kind of looks like they might be breaking up at some point. But overall, the show, I would give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. This was not exactly the better... This wasn't as good as the January 11th episode. But anyway, at this time, definitely I left you guys with a lot of information about the leading up storylines. I don't want to spoil anything else for you guys. If you have not checked this stuff out or know from this stuff from back in the day. But anyway, at this time, thank you very much for watching. Leave the comments and opinions down below. Hit the like button and lay it the smack down on that freaking subscribe button. Have a great night, guys.